They locked the doors, but the horror was already inside, breathing with them, waiting with them, crawling through the silence like a whisper that no one wanted to hear. Sometimes the scariest part of any night I sent what lurking outside the windows or rattling doorknobs the realization that danger doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always break in. Sometimes it walks in with you. Sometimes it stays hidden until the moment you think you're safe. And sometimes it is born in the ordinary faces you pass every single day. In these stories tonight, the darkness isn't here just to frighten you. It's here to remind you how powerful you truly are. Every scream, every shadow, every heartbeat racing through the quiet teaches us something about courage, intuition, hope, and the fire that keeps us alive when fear tries to consume everything. It begins with a truth that chills people more than any ghost story ever could. Evil eye isn't always outside. It doesn't always lurk in forests or abandoned buildings. Sometimes evil grows quietly inside people who smile, who help, who appear harmless. And that lesson is frightening not because it makes the world darker, but because it asks you to trust your instincts even when someone looks perfectly normal. Take the story of Mariam, a girl who never thought a simple winter night would test every ounce of strength she had. She sat in the library long after the other students left, while a storm clawed at the windows like a living thing. Mr. Hall, the librarian everyone respected, offered her warm tea and soft reassurances as he prepared to lock the doors. When the storm triggered an automatic lockdown, sealing them inside, she didn't panic at first. She thought he would play a radio, maybe light a candle if the power went out. But something felt wrong. Something small, unspoken. His pacing, his trembling hands, the way his eyes lingered on the doors as if he wanted them locked not for safety, but because the storm gave him cover. Fear slid down her spine not in one terrifying moment, but in a slow, quiet realization. She didn't see a monster. She saw the mask slip on a man she thought she knew. The power flickered, plunging them into brief spells of darkness. And when the lights returned, his whisper came, soft and cracked. Finally. She didn't wait to understand what he meant. Instinct carried her. She moved, she hid between shelves. She pressed her back against the cold metal of the archives, trying to silence her breaths as he roamed with deliberate steps. He spoke to himself, words she couldn't string together, fragments of obsessions no one in that town knew he had. She survived because she trusted her instincts, because a whisper inside her said, run even, when her mind insisted she was overreacting. When police broke in hours later, they found journals, plans, pages filled with thoughts he had buried beneath decades of politeness. The horror wasn't the storm. It wasn't the darkness. It was the truth hidden behind a familiar face. And from that night forward, Mariam became the voice that encouraged others to listen to their intuition. Evil can hide, but instinct never lies. Fear is loud, but courage appears the moment you choose not to freeze. Louise, a night guard working the graveyard shift at a warehouse, learned this in the most terrifying way possible. When an intruder cut the power, sealing exits and plunging the building into complete darkness. Louis felt that first wave of panic, the kind that squeezes your lungs and steals your breath. But instead of letting fear hollow him out, he forced himself to breathe slow, to think. Every aisle looked the same in the dim beam of his flickering flashlight, but he used memory, sound, and the faint echo of footsteps to guide himself through the maze of boxes. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward even when your hands shake. Louis found a maintenance hatch the intruder overlooked and escaped, saving not just his life, but giving police a chance to catch the man still hunting him inside. Darkness exposes parts of us we didn't know existed. A mother in Iowa realized that when her unstable neighbor broke into her home after midnight, convinced someone was hiding inside the walls. Her children slept 2 rooms over, unaware of the danger stepping across the hallway. She didn't scream. She didn't fall apart. She guided her children into the basement freezer, whispering promises that she'd keep them safe, no matter what. Then she pressed her entire body against the pantry door to hold it shut. Her arms trembled, her legs burned, but she didn't move, not even when the neighbor pushed against the door, breathing frantically, muttering things that made no sense. Strength arrives the moment you decide you will not let the world take anything else from you. For nearly an hour, she stood her ground until help came. She never thought she had that kind of power until the night she needed it. Sometimes survival is hidden in the smallest decision, A choice that feels unimportant in the moment but ends up reshaping everything. Rafiq, a college student, almost stayed late in a study room, planning to review notes for just one more hour. But a friend knocked on his door and said, "Walk with us." Something simple. Something casual. Rafiq packed up his bag and joined them. Moments later, the building went into lockdown when a violent offender entered through a service hall. The very room where he planned to stay was sealed off with students trapped inside. One tiny decision, one moment of choosing company over solitude, saved his life. Life changes not only in big dramatic choices, but in quiet, ordinary ones. The mind can become a prison far stronger than any locked door. A hiker trapped in an abandoned lodge during a snowstorm discovered that the shadows she feared weren't the ones around her. They were the ones inside her. Isolation distorted sounds, turned the wind into voices, transformed memories into nightmares. She relived fears she thought she had buried years ago. But she survived by grounding herself with slow breathing, by speaking out loud to remind herself she was real, she was present, she was alive. Sometimes the battle, isn't with monsters or strangers, it's with the ghosts we carry inside our own minds. Hope survives in places where logic says it shouldn't. A bus driver kidnapped on a remote road found small cracks in the kidnapper's attention where he scribbled notes on ticket stubs and tucked them between seats. It seemed pointless, almost foolish. But hope doesn't require logic. It just needs faith. Rescuers found those messages, each one guiding them closer, each one written by a man who refused to let fear silence him. Hope is quiet, but it is relentless. Not everyone locked inside with us is an enemy. Sometimes strangers become our lifeline when darkness presses in. Two teenagers hiding during a mall lockdown found themselves stuck with an elderly woman struggling to breathe. They calmed her. They shared their last bottle of water. They spoke to her softly, telling her stories, distracting her from fear. Later, she thanked them with trembling hands, whispering that their kindness reminded her of her own children who had passed away. Fear could have separated them, but compassion stitched them together. Even in terror, humanity survives. No horror lasts forever, but what we build from the broken pieces becomes our legacy. A man who once survived a brutal home invasion spent years unable to sleep without every light in the house turned on. He didn't heal in a day. He didn't magically forget, but he turned his fear into purpose, creating workshops to help others learn how to protect their homes and their mental health. His story shows that rising from trauma isn't about forgetting what happened, it's about reclaiming your power. Life will bring nights where doors lock, where shadows grow long, where fear feels like a living thing breathing down your neck. But within you lives something stronger. Intuition that warns you, courage that steadies you, hope that carries you, and resilience that refuses to die. You are built for survival. You are built for light, and may God protect you from dangers seen and unseen. Fill your heart with peace, guard your home, your family, your mind, and your path, and keep you safe even when the world feels dark. Amen.